Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Album Reviews. Or is it Album Reviews? With me, James Bell. And the reason I say, is it Album Reviews, is because today we're looking at this. Ta-da! Suzanne Ciani and it's Fish Music. And this isn't an album, it's a 7-inch single. But I decided to do this because it's really interesting, intriguing, as I told you last week. So there's a story to go with this, so how I came about this record. I got it last week. I was in Newcastle meeting up with a friend, and I decided to go into a record shop, just to see what they had and things. And I'd been after for some music from Suzanne Ciani for a while now. So I asked them, what records do you have? Do you have any Suzanne Ciani? And he looked on the system and he had this. And I was like, oh, okay. I've never heard of that one before, because I've been looking out for one of her albums, and she had been nominated actually for 5 times for her New Age albums, and a lot of people are very familiar with them. So I've been after one of them for quite some time. And so I bought this Fish Music single for was it about $7.99 or something? But anyway, so the guy told me that in the record shop that this was from a label called Finders Keepers, which I believe are based in the UK. And the story behind them is rather intriguing. They've been going for about 10 years now, and they release music that has been around for some time, but perhaps has gone out of print or was never been in print. And they specialise in rare music sometimes from more well-known artists like Suzanne Ciani. Her work is generally quite well known, but also from artists that, for whatever reason, hasn't been released, and they feel that it's their duty to release music from these musicians that otherwise wouldn't get heard in the world. And it's really hard to get a hold of their music. Perhaps they were in countries or in times where it was very hard to release music, where freedom of speech and expression. So they feel it's their duty to release the music that wouldn't get heard otherwise. And I think that's so good in a day and age where we're kind of obsessed with new music and hearing stuff that's new. And if it's old, then, even if, it's great that they're going back into the back catalogues, because there's so much music out there from the past that simply hasn't been heard. So I think it's great. And Fish Music hasn't actually been commercially released before. So Suzanne Ciani was an American composer, and she did a lot of work with synthesizers, mainly Butler synthesizers. And she actually met the guy who created the Butler synthesizer, who's the pioneer behind it, Don Butler. And some years later, she managed to get her own and began producing music with it. And she did a lot of work doing a lot of American commercials, or advertisements as we'd call them in Britain. And I think one of the most famous sounds she created was the sound of Coca-Cola being opened. And she was very good at emulating sounds, real life sounds, using synthesizers. And again, this was before digital technology. And one of my favourites though is got to be the Columbia Pictures logo from the 1970s. It's a wonderful, wonderful fanfare, brilliant. So she did a lot of her most well-known music was actually for these commercials, and she was very successful from that. And this Fish Music comes from a commission she had. She got commissioned to write, to do a piece of music for an aquarium for the opening of a shopping mall in mid-America. And this was in 1977. Now, what's interesting with this release that Finders Keepers Records have done, they've actually got this newspaper clipping right here. And as you can see, it's the same photograph that's on the front of the cover. And it tells you all about, it's a news clipping from back then saying about this piece of music. And it basically sums up that she's using the Butler board synthesizer to compose this music, and that there's going to be that the shoppers will peer into portholes to see the underwater life in this aquarium, and it's going to be accompanied by Suzanne Ciani's fish music. Now, like I was saying, Ciani was very good at making synthetic sounds sound like real life sounds, and I think in this piece of music that originally for this commission, for this installation, was on a continuous cycle. The background music really captures the sound of water, and then you get all these kind of synthetic sounds zipping past, a bit like fish. So she was kind of representing this sort of underwater world, but it almost feels kind of enclosed, a bit like an aquarium, and it really does sum up the sound of water so well. But it's just so intriguing, I mean, it's with it being a single, it's relatively short. It's one-sided, but it's clear vinyl, and again, I think the whole packaging is lovely. But the real beauty is just getting an insight to some of Suzanne Ciani's other work that was previously unreleased. Like I say, this was just released 2 years ago in 2017. With our long line of other music that previously unreleased from Suzanne Ciani. And it's great that Finders Keepers are now bringing us this new music and releasing it commercially for the first time. I think another album they're releasing from that they've released from Suzanne Ciani is showing the different commercials that she's done over the years and the different music she's done for logos, etc. But it's just a real treat just to get an insight to some of her work and the amount she's done, because she's done so much over the years, and a lot of it previously hasn't been released commercially. So I think it's wonderful to bring to light what Finders Keepers are doing, bringing to light what artists have done, such as what artists have done like Suzanne Ciani. And it's very exciting because I didn't know they existed. So I'm really excited by this. So this is really cool. And again, on the front cover, I think it's wonderful just to show you this. It shows a young Suzanne Ciani busy at work here on the synthesizer with the tape machines and everything. I think it's just so beautiful. It really is. But there's a lot. I haven't explored all the music they've released from Suzanne Ciani on this label, but it's very exciting. I think Suzanne Ciani herself has had a very broad career in music, doing commissions and adverts, and then her new age albums, which I've yet to explore. But also she's done a lot of piano music. She's a very accomplished pianist too. So, and of course, she appeared on the BBC Proms last year doing a live performance on a synthesizer. I think it might have been a Butler synthesizer, and that seems to be her go-to for synthesis. So she's done a lot of work. So it's great that more of her music is coming to us commercially even now. So that's brilliant. So hopefully soon I'll be doing more music from Finders Keepers. So that was today's review. Thank you very much for listening. Next week I will be back with an album instead of a single. I think it's quite nice to mix it up. So that was single for this week. Next week it's an album. And I'm doing this, I'm going to 1981. And here we are. It's Level 42. It's their debut album. So it's very exciting. I love this. Oh, I'm really excited. I always say that every week, but this is really exciting. So all the best for this week, and I'll see you same time, same place for that. That'll be brilliant. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this review. And why not check out some of my other videos too?